Hello, YouTube land. I don't know, I'm trying this with my new tripod, how to do this. This is probably going to be a long video, and it has to do with the catalogs you can get for free in the United States. But don't quote me on that, because I've been getting them for free for years. These catalogs. Unfortunately, when I first started getting them, they only had volume 2 left lying around in headquarters in Irvine, California. So I don't have volume 1. They always come out twice a year for the catalogs for what's coming out. So let's get started. I'm sorry if the legs of the tripod are in the way, because I have a small table to work with, and I'm sorry if it gets in the way of your viewing, but I'm going to try my best to get you guys to see everything here. Alright, so let's start with this. This is what it looks like in the front, and that's the back. This is 2017 volume 2. This is when the Kong head started coming out. As you see, this thing can have 4-wheel steering, and it has 3 different models. The Dyna head, which has the portal axles, and the school bus. 6-wheel drive, all gears, as you see. It's all gears. I know that the Dyna head takes 58 ball bearings. Hold on a second. I know a lot of you who've been in the hobby a long time are familiar with these cars. A lot of you don't have Tamiyas or have built them in the past, or choose not to show them on your channel. I've been a lover of Tamiya since the early 1980s. My first hobby car was the original Hornet. These cars from Tamiya have character and personality. I mean, I love the new stuff, but Tamiya's cars, they just give you a different feeling about the vehicle. Like I said, personality and character. So I don't know if this is upside down to you guys. I hope not. This is a 1/18 scale car, but it's big, just like the 14 scale semis that they make. I don't know. The dual ridge might be here still, but I don't think so. I think it goes under a different nameplate right now. I could be wrong. I have to take a look. Well, we'll get there, or I can just tell you now. Because I'm going to go through with all these books. I have all the books from 17 to 2020. Hopefully I will be able to get 2021 for these. There are some things I don't like that Tamiya does. Now, it's the dual ridge is not around anymore. The Plasma Edge 2 is in the Neo Scorcher. What it shows in the latest book, but you'll see that at a later date. So, This car came out in 17, and then it came out, I think, earlier this year. They made another model of this, or it was last year, the end of last year. They made another version with a different decal sheet. Here's the dual ridge. Here is the drift models that they've made in the past. Except for this one is not a drift model. This is a drift model. Here's when they first started the M07 chassis. They also tell you the parts that you want for hopping these cars up. Here's the semis. A lot of people love Tamiya semis. Very expensive though. They're not cheap cars from Tamiya usually. I mean, you can get a deal on their website. If you look at it on a regular basis, they might directly from them have some sales that are cheaper than anywhere else. So be aware if you go on Tamiya.com or go to Tamiya's homepage, www.tamiya.com, or you could call 1-800-TAMIYA. So you might be able to get their cars that are on sale directly from them. Here's some hop-ups for the semis. I don't know if they have some of these parts still available for these cars even after this year of vehicles. Here's the 14 scale European semi-racing trucks. They started appearing first, I think, on this year, of that year, 2017. Here's the expert built, the XBs, or XB Pros. As far as I know, none of these cars ever came with ball bearings. You'd have to open these up when you got them with everything that you want. You got your ESCs, you got your motor, and you got your, I think it comes with the battery pack. It says right here, steering, servo, receiver, ESC, motor, rear wheels and tires. You get everything you need to get this car running, but you don't get ball bearings. So you're going to eventually want to open this car up or open it up right away and put ball bearings in yourself. It's a TT02 chassis. These are the cars they had at Expert built at the time when this catalog came out. As far as I know, they don't have the Expert builts anymore. They have these things called the SAs, which is almost ready to run. You add your own electronics to it, but you're also going to have to add ball bearings to them too. There you go. Here's the Plasma Edge 2, which is still out. They have a new gunmetal colored one, which is really nice. Out. They've had different colored versions of this out. As you know, this is what the Terra Scorcher was before they actually came out with the original kit, which I heard they stopped production of within a year. I don't quite understand it. I know it's because the Fire Dragon is coming out, so I'm pretty much on the other on the same chassis, but as far as I heard, the Terra Scorcher came with more nicer pieces on it that were extra on the Terra Scorcher compared to the Fire Dragon, and a lot of people are upset about that they dropped the Terra Scorcher just pretty much within a year when it should have stayed out for a while. Hopefully you can still find kits of the original one that came out this year. Here's another dual ridge. I don't know if the MF01X chassis came out this year, at that year in 2017. but I think they might have been around longer. I'm not sure, but the DTO3s are still around. I don't know that every one of them is out still, but there are some left that they still make. Two-wheel drive buggy. To me, this the MF01X chassis is a four-wheel drive M chassis. No one ever think of it as that way, but I think that's what it is. To me, I think it's a four-wheel drive M chassis. Go back here again. I don't know if you guys are seeing this upside down or not. Oh, that's upside down, yeah. Here's the comical models. A lot of these are not around anymore. At least some of them. This Honda one, the Honda City car, I don't think it's around anymore. You might still be able to get the Black Edition lunchbox and the pumpkin in Midnight Pumpkin Metallic Special. Here's the GFO1s. These were the versions of the four-wheel drive versions of these two-wheel drives that they made, that they still make. I think the GFO1s are still around. They even had they've had in the past some white chassis, the DFO on the DFO3. I don't know if they're still making the XV01, but this is one of their best handling chassis they've made in four-wheel drive belt drive that you could get, but they're also more expensive than the TTO2s and TTO1s. But these were front-mounted motored with belt drive. And then they had still some DTO2s left. There's some DTO1s left. Also get the TRF versions of these cars. The TRF 211MX. And I think you could still, if you find it, the DNO1, which is a different chassis than the DTO2 and the DTO3 and the DTO1 and 3 and 2, whatever. DNO1. This car ended up having the DNO1 had a TRF version of it. This is the cheapest version of that. Here's a lot of their off-road cars. You can still get a lot of these, and some of them you cannot at this point. Trust me, there's a good chance that these will be revisited at a later date from Tamiya. They will eventually come back out with the original cars that they made back in the early 80s. They have a vintage lineup that they're very good at keeping up with and changing over and stuff. Here's what here's the CC01. People like the CC01 better than the CR01, which is really more of their crawler, but no one liked the CR01 for crawling. Some people think it's decent enough, some people don't like it at all. CC01, a lot of people like to play with for a trail rig, as far as I understand. And they can be modified to high heaven, the trail rig of the CC01. Same with the CC02, which is we've seen in a later date, but everybody's probably seen the CC02. Been out a while now. I think you can still get the Sand Scorcher. Here's their original 3-speed transmission that transfers to two-wheel drive when you go into second and third. And this car with this transmission, All metal chassis, metal gears, metal parts all over this car. Very expensive one. HG makes a rip-off of this car. But if you want a genuine Tamiya version of it, here you go. This is what they had. They were already doing this type of vehicle back in the early 80s, like 81, 82. Then they came out with a full-time four-wheel drive system that's 3-speed transmission, just like the 3-speed transmission. Or I think it's a different 3-speed transmission, but it's a full-time 3-speed transmission, unlike the Bruiser. Which they have different chassis versions of the Bruiser. They have ones with smaller tires and stuff like the Mountaineer and stuff. They had different versions of that chassis a while ago. See, 3-speed transmission, but full-time 4-wheel drive on these. Sound just like in the semis. They have a sound kit for it. Tamiya, if you want vehicles that are great, if you want military RCs, I personally think, because Tamiya has been making military vehicles before they started making RCs, so they're very good at making tanks and other RC vehicles like the XR311. XR311, and they had a fast attack vehicle and a fast attack vehicle with the shark decals, called the shark version of the fast attack vehicle, which is not on this page, but they did come out with that in the last 10 years. They visited that one. That's a military vehicle, so is the XR311. Tanks are very expensive at Tamiya, but they have some of the best representation of military vehicles you could probably buy anywhere in the RC world. Here's the different versions of the TT02 chassis back in 2017. Here's some of their drift cars they had then. Here's TT01s and TT02s. Up top here. Here's a Pro chassis. They still make the TA06 and the TA05, but there's the TA07 Pro chassis back then, and they have a TA08 now, and I think they have a Pro version of that. Here's the TB04 chassis, and it's shaft drive. They do have a couple of, they've made some cars in the past that were belt driven, like the TA07. I don't think you can get the TA06, but you can get, and what I meant is, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. They have an MO7 Pro, I think, and an MO8 Pro now in the middle, in the small cars, in the mini cars. But they have had, here's some of the, what the difference is between the TA07 Pro and the TA06 and the TA07 Pro. As you can see, I personally like the front suspension system setup better on the TA06. I love the cantilever setup. It's always cool looking. Here's the front wheel drive chassis. I don't know if they're making those anymore. You might still be able to get this FF03. Back in the day, in the early 90s, late 90s and early 2000s, I had an FF01. And they've had two others since then. I don't know if they're going to make an FF04, but I would love to see if they will still continue to make the FF chassis or bring them back. I like this side cantilever kind of setup on the front wheel drive one. This is front wheel drive. The TB04s and TA07s and the TA06s are four wheel drive. Those are belt driven. TB04 is shaft driven. Here's the MO5s, the MO6s, Now, what really ticks me off with what they did is they put a Mazda MX-5 on their front-wheel drive mini chassis. That makes no sense. It's a rear-wheel drive car. That really upsets me. There's another car. They have a new version body, pre-painted color car for the bus, and they put it on the MO5 chassis when the original one that they put out with that body had an MO6 chassis. To me, that makes no sense. I don't know why they do those things. This car should be on an MO6 chassis, just like that pre-painted Love van of that TO of the MO6. It really makes no sense to me. Here's a special Ferrari. I don't think they don't make this one anymore. The F12 TDF. They've made a lot of Ferraris in the past for their chassis, even in the expert builds back in 2017. I had an MO1 chassis when they first came out. Here's a line of their expert builds. Here's some of the hop-ups for these for all their cars. Carbon fiber pieces, aluminum pieces. They even have titanium screws. I think they even have some stainless steel stuff. Ball differentials as options. Different motors you can buy for a lot of these chassis. Actually, every one of their cars are available with hop-up parts you can get. And here is a list of things, a big list of other optional parts you didn't see there on the other page. So, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Remember, it's a good chance you can get these for free in the United States. All you do is ask for them, and they should send them, because I've always gotten them for free. They've never charged me $11 for these. But don't quote me on that, but they have never charged me for that. So you can check to see if you can get them for free. So don't quote me that you can get them for free, but I don't know why they were sending me them for free, but that's what they were doing, so I assume they send them to everybody else for free. In the continental U.S. I don't think they do it to Alaska or Hawaii because of the distance. So, I will be doing another one because I have books all the way up to 2020, and this is the 2017 volume 2. That's the only one I have. That's the earliest one I have. I wish I had the volume 1 of that year, but I do not. But I have volume 1 and 2 for 18, 19, and 20. Hopefully I will be able to get them both also for 2021. Please subscribe and put up a thumbs up if you like this.